Well, welcome to the Christy Jones Show, where it's all about living your life to the fullest. I'm a life coach, speaker, and business owner in multifamily real estate, and I've had wild success in multifamily housing for over 25 years now. I am so passionate about helping others merge their success and lead a fulfilling life, and I bring it all together right here on this podcast. So join me and let's get started to live your life to the fullest. Well, welcome back. Welcome back to the show. Another week on the Christy Jones Show. Super excited to talk about this today. I've been wanting to record this one for a while, and I just had to kind of get my thoughts organized on it because literally I can get on a soapbox on this topic. But I want to talk about getting older, midlife, and I want you to ask yourself, is it time for a little self-check-in? Self-check-in. I mean, do you need to do a little check-in with yourself? Because a lot of times we just get moving along and then we're like, whoa, I haven't paused for a minute and checked in with myself. This episode is great if you're younger and you want to know what the amazing things that are waiting for you as you get older. Listen up, because I've got like a super long list. So many things, I won't even have time to share them all on this episode. My point today, and if you're midlife, like right now, like if you're in your late 30s, like I hate to break it to you, but if you're in your late 30s, hello, like 40s are coming up. And so your late 30s, your 40s, your 50s, or beyond, you're going to want to hear this episode because I'm going to kind of shake you up a little bit, give you some things to think about when it comes to like doing a little check-in with yourself in this season of life, when it comes to getting older in midlife. I don't even know what number that is, by the way, because I mean, what is midlife? Well, midlife's going to be half of what you actually, however many years you live, which you don't know and I don't know, but it's the halfway mark. So I'm 53. I'm going to be 54 in August. I kind of feel like I have a solid 50 years left. Solid. God willing, it's his plan, not mine, but I definitely feel uber confident. That's like a definite. So I'm really excited about it. And I really like, as I was getting older, I didn't get the memo of how amazing this is. I didn't get a memo of like, what are all the good things waiting for you as you get older? Because I feel like it's like, I don't know, through conversations, just, TV, for me, TV, we didn't have social media, but now social media, all the things, it's like all the bad stuff, right? It's like, oh my God, all the bad things that come along with getting older. Well, I mean, there's just things that happen in life, regardless of your age. But I don't believe that. I really think that there's way more positives than negatives. So join me on this ride that we're going to do for about 20 minutes while I chit chat about this. So is it time for a check-in? And as I'm talking about some of these things, I want to like encourage you to self-reflect. And again, I'm huge on self-awareness, you guys. Like we got to have some self-reflection. That's how we grow. So as I'm talking about these things, think about what does this mean for me? Like, how does this apply to my life? And think of like, how does this play into where I'm at in life right now? So that's where I want you to take this conversation as you're listening to it. So midlifers, or just as you're getting older, and older can mean like when I was probably, I think back, let's say I was 20-ish and somebody was my age. I mean, I thought that was like really old. I'm just going to be real. I did. And I felt like my grandma was like always, well, she was always grandma, but like my grandma's age, well, would she have been in her 50s when I was born? But she still looked like my grandma that I had when she was in her 70s and 80s. Things have really changed, you guys. Like, I mean, I'm sure you've noticed, like getting older now with all of the knowledge that we have and all of the conveniences that we have. I mean, it's crazy, right? I mean, we can take such better care of our minds and our bodies. And I mean, like hundreds of years ago, or not even hundreds of years ago, I'll go back just to my great grandma. I mean, she's working in the cotton fields, like she's picking cotton all day. Like her family, like they're in the heat of it. In Bakersfield, they moved, it was like during the Grapes of Wrath era, when you lost everything during the Dust Bowl days, and loaded up the one truck with the wood slats on the side, went to Bakersfield, and they picked cotton. Like that's a tough, hard, like, that's not the conveniences that we have today, right? So my point is that we have so many resources available to us today that being in our 50s doesn't look like or feel like, I like that word better. It doesn't feel like what it felt like, 100 plus years ago to be in our 50s, because of all the things that we get to have at our, like the things that we get to learn that allow us to take better care of our bodies and our minds. So anyways, it's just a whole different arena. It really is. And so it's fun. And also, I mean, I'm not making this up, so just go Google it. But the life expectancy now is so much greater than it used to be because of all the advances and, of lifestyle. Yes, in modern medicine, but in so many other things too. So let me silence my phone. So just know that, like, it's going to be to your advantage to get really good at enjoying the aging process. I believe it has so many perks. So join me on this little conversation. The first thing I want to share with you is I want to really hit home that truly, if you haven't started this already, please start now. I don't care what your age is, but especially as you get older, you have got to quit playing up to others' expectations. Meaning, you got to quit worrying about what they think about you, about your life, about your job, about how you spend your time. Just quit. Like it doesn't matter. Like their opinion doesn't matter. So the sooner you can get comfortable with that, your life is going to feel so much easier. So really lean into that thought and quit playing up to other people's expectations. I love how they love to put these expectations on you of how you should be, how you should show up in the world, what kind of wife you should be, how should your life as a wife or a mother, or as in your career, how should it look? Well, it doesn't really matter what they think on how it should be. You decide that. That's the beauty of it, because we're all individuals. So you figure that out for you. Quit looking for other people to identify that for you. You know your value system. So lean into that. Quit searching for other people to tell you how to be, how to show up. Like that's unique to you. So lean into that. I really want to encourage you not to fear getting older. If I could wave a wand and, cast a spell, would be like, do not fear getting older. I feel like that a lot of times, and I'm speaking from my personal experience, and I realize that a lot has changed, and we have so much better ways to take care of ourselves, and we know so much more. And so the knowledge and, the things that we get to hello, Google, so many things we're like, oh, I'm curious about that, and you can go find out what other books can you get to read about. You can look at it, online. It's just crazy the amount of information that's at our fingertips, right? So it is a whole different ballgame when it comes to aging. But I just want to wave the magic wand and be like, do not fear getting older. It is honestly, it's a gift, first of all. is a total gift. So wrap that up with a nice little bow. Okay. Gift yourself. Like, be like, hey, I'm getting a gift today because I'm here and I'm getting older. Like, that's to be celebrated. That's amazing. And you should be excited about that. I'm thrilled about it. I mean, yeah, okay. So there's like some things that, you know, that aren't as like the same. And then we have to pay attention. You have to pay attention. Like, yeah, I mean, there's like health situations that we have to pay attention to, but you have to pay attention. You have to like decide that you're going to like, I mean, a common one that I talk with women in my communities, you got to just go walk. Let's get walking. We are not meant to sit all day long and then sit all night long and can think that that's going to help us feel our best. I mean, it's not. So we have to really take responsibility for whatever experience that you're going to have, the mindset. I'm talking mindset, okay? Like, we can't control. There's a lot of things that are going to happen in our lives that we just can't control, right? I mean, things just happen. We can be having great health, and then all of a sudden we get a report and something's really changed, and our health, we don't feel like it's so great after hearing what we heard from the doctor. Like, those are real things. Those things can happen at any point in life, right? So the one thing that we can really have the most effect on is our mind. So I don't want you to fear getting older. Don't be like, oh yeah, I heard it sucks. It doesn't. I'm actually having, and I'm speaking from my own personal experience, but I'm actually learning and growing and developing and enjoying this whole process each and every year. Like, getting older, it's kind of exciting. Like, I'm like, well, what can I do this year? I don't know. Maybe I should explore that. I wonder what's possible. Like, that's how I look at it. Like, what's possible for me now? What's possible for me now that I'm 53? Well, I'm going to be 54, but what's possible? Like, I love to ask that question around my birthday. It's like, what's possible for me in this next year, or just moving forward? I wonder what's new, what's possible. And it keeps it like, it's like fresh and exciting. And it's like, I love the challenge. And so don't fear this season of your life. If you're with it in me right now, and you're like, Christy, I don't really feel the same way about it. And I'm in, your midlife, or like around my age, right? And you ain't feeling it. Well, we got to work on the thought process of that. Okay. So gratitude is huge. When you're in a state of gratitude, I don't know how you can be, pissed off at the world. I don't know. I mean, I don't really know. Because we all get frustrated, right? And, irritated. But we got to go back to the gratitude, right? When I find myself going down that little rabbit hole, I just immediately hit the brakes, stop. You're going down the rabbit trail. And I go back, and my immediate go-to is I'm going to go find something and think of something. I'm going to make a list if I need to of what am I grateful for right now. Right now, that list is going to far outweigh whatever piddly thing is ticking me off at the moment. Right? So you've got to get very good. Here's an upside. It's not in my notes, but like, it just came to me. Upside of getting older is you get really good at managing your mind. You get really good with emotional resilience. That's the word that I use. I don't know. That's the term that makes sense to me. Emotional resilience. That's what experience gives you. It's a beautiful thing. I love it. Doesn't mean you're not going to still like feel all the emotions, have the days, the cry, whatever. You got to have a good cry once in a while, right? I'm not saying that, but you will just one day you'll look back and go, I am so stinking emotionally resilient and steady. Steady. That's the other word I wanted to bring up. Like, no more of this high-low stuff, right? Just steady, calm in the storm, knowing that all things are working for the good, knowing that everything is temporary. So if it sucks right now, good news is it's temporary. If things are fabulous right now, appreciate it. Really, that should make you like feel so good. Really soak in the moment, because everything in life is temporary. Everything is changing. Everything is in constant motion. So appreciate every single aspect of it. Everything is in motion. Nothing ever stays the same in life. And I think that bothers people sometimes, like, oh, but I just want it to stay the same. I just want it to stay the way it is right now. But do you? I mean, do you really want a lifetime of where it is right now? Or do you want to kind of see what, it's great right now, but I know there's more. I know there's more to experience. I know there's going to be more to learn. So I kind of think of that when, when if you're raising children. And I remember thinking this when, like, I was a new mom. I was like, oh, loving, I just love, when they're young, you're like, oh, you just get all like emotional about it. And you just love those moments and you want them to stay little forever. But I mean, that's not life. And you don't really want that. You want them to grow up and be everything that they can be and create amazing lives. Like, that term's tossed out there a lot, but you don't really want that, right? Because you want what's best for them. And what's best for them is to grow and evolve and to build their life of all the magnificence that they can have and experience. And so I remember hearing myself tell myself that in my head a long time ago. And because my he's going to turn 30 in July. Can you believe that? That's so exciting. I'm so proud. I'm so proud of him. But anyway, so going way back when I used to have those thoughts. But early on in the process, I decided that, because I remember one time someone telling me that these are the best years. You just enjoy these, like, I don't remember what the age was, is like, little years. Enjoy these years because, it's just the best years. After this, it's just, I don't know what the word they use, but they made it seem like it wasn't as good as it is right now. And I was like, well, is that supposed to be like encouraging or uplifting, or get me to just appreciate it right now, which I was, but that doesn't sound very hopeful for the future years, right? So I don't know. And I just didn't hear that. I hear that said sometimes, and I'm just using parenting as an example because, they'll tell like parents of littles, like, oh, you better just enjoy every minute because then it'll be over. And yeah, that'll be over. But guess what? I decided that whatever was next was also going to be equally amazing. I just didn't believe that this one little capsule of time was it, that like, this is it, and everything else is downhill from there. So it's kind of like aging, right? So you'll hear the term, oh, it's, enjoy. And I don't know why I change voices when I do this. I don't know. It's just a weird habit I have. But people will be like saying to a younger person, you better enjoy your 20s or enjoy your 30s because it's all downhill from there. Like talking about like 40s and 50s. And I'm like, why do people tell people that in their 20s and 30s? Like, you better enjoy it. It's all downhill from here. I'm like, okay, motivational speaker, you are not, first of all. But seriously, why do we say that? Why is that the narrative out there? So I don't believe that at all. And that has not been my experience. And I know there's plenty of other people that are in midlife and beyond that is not their experience. So don't fear getting older and do not fear this season. I know there's my soapbox rant, right? As you get older, and if you are in that quote unquote, what I'm going to call the midlife years, again, a generalization is going to be like your 40s, your 50s, 60s. Okay. You've got to focus on your wellness. You have to, if you haven't already, which I hope you have started much sooner, because it will be so much. Okay. If you're younger and you're hearing this, here's my like PSA. The sooner you start focusing on your health and wellness, the easier it's going to be when you get in your 30s and I'm sorry, in your 40s and your 50s and beyond. Okay. So let me say that again. If you're younger and you're hearing this, know this. If you are younger, the sooner that you start focusing on a healthy lifestyle, your health and your wellness, the sooner you begin that, it is going to benefit you even more once you get into your 40s and your 50s and beyond. So that should encourage you to take a look at like your habits and your patterns right now and decide what needs to have some time and attention spent on. If you haven't, and you're like, okay, well, Christy, I'm here, I'm in midlife, and yeah, I haven't been. So now's the time to start. It's never too late to start. Don't feel discouraged if like that hasn't been a pattern of yours for a lot of years. It's never too late to start. So you need to start now. There's no time like the present time, my friend. So you have to, my advice on healthy living is that it's going to make your midlife and beyond years so much better, so much almost easier, right? So you've got to really put that at the top of the list. You got to move your body. And let me tell you, once you get into your 40s and beyond, strength training and putting muscle on your body. I'm not saying become a bodybuilder, like don't freak out. I'm not going there. But you've got to do resistance training. You have to build your muscles. Like muscle is longevity. I believe that. Thankfully, I have a wealth of information at my fingertips. My son and the profession that he does. But muscle is your friend. And I've watched muscle totally transform my body and my energy. And as I really focused more on that in my late 40s, in my mid to late 40s, started leaning more into strength training. And I'd always worked out like I do strength training, but it was like, 2 days a week. And I can't really say it was like, it wasn't as, it was more like workouts. It wasn't like what I call training, which is what I do now. And so just know that fitness is important. Moving your body is important. Mobility, building muscle and like functional fitness, like those are the things that are going to help you. Because, when you think about let's fast forward, right? Now we're in our 70s and 80s and 90s, like walking, stepping off of like unlevel surfaces, going from like a curb down to down to street level, climbing stairs, getting up, doing these twisting, lifting, picking things up. Okay, traveling. Do you want to be able to put your suitcase in the overhead bin if you need to? Then that's a goal. Like I want to be when I'm traveling in my 80s, I'm going to, I usually take too much stuff, so I have to check bags. Let's be real. I'm not like a carry-on girl, but I always have, there's times I'll have a carry-on or, an extra bag that I put in the overhead. I want to be able to handle that myself. So I'm going to make sure that that's a possibility for me. So you got to look at things like that. Like your health and wellness is going to make the aging process so much more enjoyable. So whatever you can do right now to begin that for yourself, do it. Don't delay it. Quit putting it off. Do it. And also in midlife, as we age, I also want to encourage you to look for ways to lower your stress level. Stress and how it affects our hormones, our whole adrenal system, that's like a whole nother episode. There's things like adrenal fatigue, when you've had prolonged stress, like intense stress for too long. All I'm going to say here is it jacks your body system and your hormones. And hormones dictate so much of how our body operates, so much of how our body operates. So lower your stress, do habits, do things every single day that help you regulate your nervous system. I teach on this, I coach on this. I have things that I talk about in my community on this. You've got to lower your stress. So we're not meant to live in a high state of stress all the time. And that's on you. That's on how we manage our mind, okay? Because there's stress, there's real stress, there's stress, back in our brain is so wired, like back in caveman days, we live in a cave, right? And the stress comes from protecting ourselves from the animal that's trying to get in to kill us. Like we don't live in those times anymore. We have different kinds of stress, right? But we've got to learn ways, because our brain is still very primal in a lot of ways. And so that's why like the fight or flight stuff comes up. I mean, our brains are so, so smart. We've got to find ways to lower our stress, to manage our nervous systems. And there are things that you need to be doing every single day to do that. And as you get older, and as you're in your 40s and your 50s, and then now you've got all these hormone things going on, stress is making it worse. So you need to incorporate habits that are going to lower your stress. Do not underestimate the effect of stress on your physical and mental well-being. It will literally take you out if you let it. I want to also say that actually let me talk to my ladies really quickly that are, honestly, this can start as early in your late 30s, maybe mid to late 30s. It can start then. You commonly see it in your 40s and also 50s, but perimenopause. If you are not educating yourself on what that is, what that means, you need to be doing it. It's never too early to learn. Okay. So here's what I'm not going to jump into. That is, again, a very deep topic. Not going to dive into that in this episode. But since I was talking about stress and the wackiness that it does with your hormones, like as your body is changing and your body is making not as much hormones, you got testosterone, progesterone, and estrogen, okay, estradiol. And your body's not making that the same, right? So I always call it like the baby factory starting to shut down. You know what I'm saying? Like as far as the baby factory, it's starting to slow down and not produce the same amount of hormones as you may during your most fertile years. Okay. So as all that's changing, your hormone levels are changing, the stress, you just can't handle the hormones and the stress. You can't handle the stress as well when your hormones are like all whacking out. There are so many things that you can be doing in perimenopause to move through that season the very best that you can, feeling great, all the things. I don't want you to think that there's not a way to work through that you just got to like tough it out. That's not true. There's so many options available to you. So educate yourself. Know that. Go read, research. If you don't know where to start, yes, you can reach out to me and I will point you in a few different directions so you kind of know where to start. But just know that if you're a woman and you still have your reproductive parts, you're going to go through menopause. Menopause is actually one day. It's one day of your whole life. It's the actual day where you've gone a full 12 months and you haven't had a cycle. All right. That day is menopause. Everything after is postmenopause. Everything before is perimenopause. And perimenopause is like 7 to 10 years, can be longer, can be shorter. They say a lot of times it's like 7 to 10 years. That's a long freaking time, ladies. Okay. So we don't need to go through that time feeling like crap. And you can't always depend on your primary care doctor or even your OBGYN to know all of this, because they just don't get trained in this when it comes to women's health. They just don't. And and it's not their fault. They're great doctors. It's just they don't know. You've got to find doctors that either specialize in menopause, perimenopause, that's a focal point of theirs, or you need to read the data, read all of the, there's like, when they do the medical, what am I trying to say? Can't even think of it right now. Where they run the test and they do it for like blocks of years. I can't think of it, what journal that's in. Anyways, if you want to know, just DM me and it'll come back to me. But all the data is right there. I mean, you just got to spend the time and educate yourself, figure out what works for you. So don't let the season of midlife and perimenopause just wear you out, because it doesn't have to be like that. I mean, I was like, nope, I'm going to figure something out. And I figured out what works for me. Feel amazing. I mean, I don't even know what to say. It's just, this is like the best season of my life. Feel so good. Excited about it. So you need to educate yourself on that. Don't feel like you have to like wear the badge of like, the 40s are horrible and I feel like crap and there's no solution. I want to help you find solutions. So don't give up. Okay. Don't give up. Last is, when it comes to aging and the little check-in I want you to do with yourself on getting older and aging, and let's just say the midlife years, you've got to keep growing. That is so key for you to enjoy the aging process. We have to keep evolving. Like, it isn't like you hit a certain age and then you just like chill on the couch and you got the remote and you're just going to ride out the rest of the days. I mean, you can if you want to. And I mean, if you want to, power to you, like you do you. That's an option. But if you're like younger and you're thinking, God, that's all, I mean, and that's all I got to do. I mean, is that what it's going to look like? I'm just going to be like hanging out with the remote and like binge watching whatever. No, it isn't. It isn't. You've got to keep growing. You've got to keep evolving. And there's so many ways to do that. The options are endless, seriously. Like, you have to lean into things that you're interested in. Like, every season of your life is going to look entirely different. Like, when you get done, let's talk about empty nesting right now. So I empty nested when I was 42 years old. That's when my son graduated from high school and he had gone on and moved out and went away to college. And so, and he was an athlete. So it wasn't like they came home, he didn't like move home for the summer or breaks. I mean, they're there. Like, I mean, we would see him. He might have a weekend or something. He could pop home, but I'm just saying that in that scenario, like, I don't know if I really thought about that. I thought, well, we'll see him like on break or he'll come home, meaning like we saw him, but thinking like he would actually come back and occupy the house over a summer, that didn't happen as a student athlete. That's just not how it plays out. So I was like, oh, this is really empty nest. Okay. So I was 42. And honestly, like, I decided that I've always heard so much like sadness and negativity and like with empty nest, like, oh, you're going to hate it. And I decided, I mean, there is an adjustment. Like, you have to consciously decide to shift as a parent, because your role is different at that point. You don't need to be showing up in the same way that you parented a young child. It's not needed. So you have to evolve, right? You need to. You're not needed in the same way as when you're raising a small child. So you have to be cognizant of that and aware of that and be ready to evolve for what's next for you, because they're evolving for what's next for them, right? So I decided that I was going to really enjoy the empty nest time and look at it as a time of like just learning, like some kind of rediscovering myself. Because, when you're raising kids, you sometimes don't have a lot of time to think, period, or think about yourself, right? So it's an excellent time as you get older to go, what interests me now? What am I interested in? What would I like to learn? What would I like to do? Where would I like to go? And just start like dreaming again and getting ideas again and forming new friendships. Like, it's an excellent time to meet new people when you're going through empty nest, because a lot of times when you're raising kids, your friend groups often are the parents that you've done things with through the years that you're, whatever your child's activities. For us, it was sports. It was, all the different sports. So it's like, that's who we're seeing on a really regular basis, and you're doing life with those people. And then it kind of all comes to an end, right? The football parents aren't doing all of this anymore. We're not doing the barbecue. And it's just different. Like, you still see some people, and some of those friendships do continue, but not all of them do. So it's an excellent way for you to also explore new friendships, new connections. So know that it's just like, I think when you're younger, it seems like a scary time. Like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to do that. It's honestly a really exciting time, because it's exciting for you to watch the child that you've raised, like to see them go on and just really just be excited and like do things in their life. Like, that's exciting. That's what you wanted. That's like what you hoped for, right? And then also for yourself, like, it's a time you get to rediscover you. And that should be fun and exciting and, yeah, a little nerve-wracking at times too. So as we get older, it doesn't mean we stop growing. It doesn't mean we stop evolving. It actually means we put the foot on the pedal and we evolve even more. We grow even more. You just have to be conscious about and more intentional about doing so. Well, I hope this conversation, although I did get on a soapbox a couple of times, I hope this conversation has really kind of, I don't know, maybe lifted the heaviness that you might feel about getting older. I mean, it's awesome. It really is. It really is. And I hope it makes you go, oh, okay, I don't know. I was kind of worrying about it, but I'm not going to worry about it so much anymore. Look into the things that I've guided you to look into. If you want to drop me a DM, you have any questions, you want to continue the conversation further, you guys know how to get a hold of me. You just drop me an email. There's a link in the show notes below, and I'm on all the social channels, so you can just catch up with me there. All right, go make the rest of your day fabulous, and I'll see you next week. Take care. I want to thank you for tuning in today to the podcast, and I hope you've enjoyed the conversation and all the info that's been shared today. And I hope you've come away with a few ideas on how to make the most out of it for your life. If you loved this episode, be sure to share it with your friends and family. And also make sure you subscribe to the podcast and tap that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Also, it would mean the absolute world to me if you would leave a podcast review. So until next time, my friend, keep flourishing and thriving and live your life to the